General Karen Gibson of Academy Securities writing, the global and domestic economy should benefit from the resumption of commerce in the Gulf, but the future security situation remains uncertain. General Gibson joins us now for more. General, welcome to the program. In the short term, and I stress in the short term, this market doesn't really care about the contours of the detail or the details of a deal or an MOU. They just want to see the energy moving through the Strait of Hormuz, and the energy is starting to move. Not back to levels we've seen previously, but it's starting to move. That's the short term. In the longer term, General, what are you focused on, and what are the flaws in that thinking?
Yeah, so I agree. In the short term, these are really positive signals, not just the movement of ships through the strait over the weekend and the higher number that we're seeing, but also these early indications from Switzerland now that those talks have actually begun. But I think we've baked into the text of the MOU some key challenges. Specifically, before the text was published, we looked at some of the challenges in terms of interpretation, implementation, verification, and enforcement, and key spoilers, the biggest one being the conflict between Israel and Lebanon. And that's what's baked into actually the first paragraph of the MOU, where potentially this previously intransigent conflict between Lebanese Hezbollah and the nation of Israel could hold hostage an ability to continue having discussions with Iran anytime it heats up. I think now we are relying on the conduct of two non-signatories of the MOU, again, Israel and Hezbollah, and the way that they respond to one another's provocations, and that could hold hostage the entire deal, potentially.
Well, so far, what is Israel's stance on this MOU?
Israel is not happy about the MOU. First, I think there was a disappointment that it didn't address things like missiles, drones, and proxies, all of which they live within range of, and we do not. And then certainly this piece about Lebanon is a key challenge for Israel. Hezbollah represents both a political party but also a militant terrorist wing. That militant terrorist wing is committed in its manifesto to the destruction of Israel. And they reside immediately across Israel's northern border. There are Israeli troops currently deployed occupying terrain in Lebanon. That's not something that Hezbollah is going to stand for. I think it's a very tricky situation. And as you point out, not one that Israel is happy about.
Given the market is really focused on the movement of energy right now, are we ever going back to Iran using the Strait of Hormuz as this leverage, given the fact that over the weekend the president said the U.S. would act as a, quote, guardian angel of the strait?
Yeah, so I think, we can't change the geography. And Iran has demonstrated what tremendous leverage it has and an ability to choke things off. I think there are a couple of future scenarios, one in which, we bring some potentially lasting peace to this issue between Lebanon and Israel, where we unlock the straits and it contributes to economic prosperity in the region. But there's another potential future in which an emboldened Iran, now led by perhaps a more hardened and powerful Islamic or IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, has a potential to or perceived leverage that could cause some of our Gulf partners to cut side deals with them and really start to erode in some ways the broader security umbrella that we've had in the Gulf region with those partners. It's a perception of leverage that is just as important as their actual actions, if that makes sense.
General, can you have negotiations between two parties that have no trust for each other?
Well, you can, but it's certainly going to be far more difficult. I think this is where the Qataris and the Pakistanis play a critical role. We are fortunate that there are entities like Pakistan and Qatar that are trusted by both sides. There aren't a lot of entities like that. And so their role will be very important going forward.
General Karen Gibson of Academy Securities. General, thank you. Appreciate your time, as always.